All right, this is Firefighter Barrera, and I'm doing my submission for my teaching my class. My class here consists of my wife Jennifer and my son Noah, and I'm doing my class on how to properly utilize the two-way radio for communication. So I'll start. All right, class. So my name is Rene Barrera. I'm a firefighter on 29C on the C shift, engine 29. My class today is how to utilize proper two-way radio communications on the two-way radio. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the video, short video, and then we'll get into it for your viewing pleasure here.
Right, Brian, I'm going to go up to the upper level and run this wire down through the wall. Grab your walkie. I'll call you when I get up there. Okay.
Brian, pick up. Over.
What?
Brian, please say over when you finish talking. Over.
What? Over?
Do you see the wire yet? Over.
No.
No. What? Over.
No, over.
Okay, I'm going to start feeding it through. Over.
Wait, if you haven't started feeding it, why'd you ask me if I could see it?
Didn't call me that. Over.
I said, why'd you ask me if I could see it if you haven't started feeding it? Over.
Oh, that's better. I can hear you now. Over. You see it yet? Over.
You know, you're a jackass. For the record, I don't want to hang out with you anymore when this is over.
When this is what, Brian? Over.
I said I don't want to hang out with you anymore when this is over.
When this is what? You've got to finish your sentence. Over.
That's it. My sentence is over.
Your sentence is what, Brian? Over.
My sentence is... Wait a minute. I have to say over even if the sentence ends with the word over?
Ends with the word what, Brian? Over.
Oh, I see the wire.
You see the wire what? Over.
Over!
So I wanted to show that video. It shows Brian and Stewie communicating on two-way radio. Obviously, it's humorous. It's meant to get a laugh out of you. But in our profession, I strongly believe in radio communication. I think we live and die by it. In our profession, seconds matter, and I think if you can't communicate at all or period, you're dead in the water. I mean, you don't even need to go to a fire scene. With that, I'll start with my slide here. So the title of my class is Two-Way Radio Communication Etiquette. So the objectives for my class, once you complete this lesson, you should be able to have a general knowledge of why proper two-way radio communications is important in the fire service. Like I said, for example, if you guys are firefighters, if you go to a fire, I'm your officer and I'm outside, or I go in with you, Noah has to stay outside. Conditions are changing while we're inside and we can't see outside, and it looks like there's going to be a collapse or something. He can't just yell in, "Hey guys, there's a fire!" More than likely, we're not going to hear him. So he needs to be able to communicate that on the radio, and we need to have our radios on. In addition to working and all the things going on around us, as an officer, you have to be able to be paying attention to that, what you're doing, and then putting out the fire, and then paying attention to your radio. So it can be stressful, and it can also be you need a lot of work on taking everything in and being able to listen to that radio while you're working. So you're going to have a general knowledge of proper way two-way radio communications and why it's important to the fire service. You're going to know how to utilize the push the top button on the radio, which I have a radio here, and I'll show you how to use that. And you're going to practice communicating with each other, or communicating with me. I'll be the officer, and you can practice calling on the radio. You're going to learn proper radio terminology when you use the radio, and then we're going to identify reasons why messages may not get through or be misunderstood. That happens a lot, especially in fire scenes. There's a lot of activity going on. Everybody thinks their message is the most important, which it is. Everybody's message is important, but there's some that take priorities, like Maydays and things like that, so we'll go over that stuff. Okay. And then at the end of the class, we'll have questions. If you have questions for me, you can ask them. So why is radio communication so important in the fire service? Not everyone at the fire scene can speak at once. And we're usually broken up into groups. So if, for example, if our house was on fire, the front of the house would be the Alpha side, this side would be the Bravo side, the back would be Charlie, and the other side would be Delta. So if we're a fire crew, there's going to be multiple fire crews reporting to the fire. Let's say we call it fire tech. We're going to go in, we're going to be the ones putting out the fire. Well, there's going to be crews on the Bravo side working, there's going to be crews on the Charlie side working, making sure that there's no fire, that it's not extending upstairs to the roof or the attic. So we need to be able to communicate with them, and vice versa. If they see something that maybe, like I said, is going to cause a collapse, or the fire's just getting out of control from the outside, but we can't really see on the outside because we're just concentrating on what we're doing inside, they need to be able to communicate that with us. We need to get important information to everyone on scene fast. So that's another thing. Like I said, if we're all split up, and I say, let's say know is you're in the fire and you go down, you're hurt, and we got separated. It's me and you as a crew, but we got separated, and fire's going all around you. You don't have a hose line with you. You need to call what's called a mayday, and that's for everything to stop. And I think the priority changes to where we go and try to get you out. Well, if our tanks, our air tanks, they only work for 45 minutes. They're supposed to be 45-minute tanks. If you're working really hard, you're lucky if you get 10 minutes out of those things. So if you're on the ground, you're breathing heavy, your breathing's up, you're scared. If you can't communicate, mayday, mayday, this is firefighter Barrera. I'm incapacitated. I'm on the ground. I don't know where I'm at. I need help. If we can't hear you, we can't get to you. We're not gonna be able to help you. And there's times where that's happened. You get a mayday out, and that person still not be able to save because there's so much fire going on around them. But that's for another class. So with that being said, time is of the essence. With the air bottles, they only last so long. We have crews that are called RIT crews, and when you go to a fire, certain crews will be assigned to RIT, and that's their only job. They have an extra spare bottle. They have a set with like another mask, and if somebody goes down in a mayday, their job is to go in there, get to that firefighter, give them air, give them whatever they need until we can get them out, and try to extricate them, get them out. And so, like I said, the air bottles only last so long. We have to get you out before that air bottle runs out. A lot of firefighters have died waiting to get rescued. They couldn't be found. They ran out of air, or they ripped their mask off out of fear. And we say smoke is poison. When that smoke hits them, they were done. So lives are at stake. Not only firefighter lives, but the most important thing to us is civilian lives. If Robbie was in the back room, let's say we had a fire, and you and I talked about this. If we had a fire and you go outside and you tell the firefighters out there, hey, my brother's in there. The house, you see the house going up in flames. Like, my brother's in there. They're like, all right, kid. They're taking their time, and what's that gonna make you think? These guys don't care. Like, I don't want these guys coming in to rescue my brother. I might as well go in and do it myself. So public perception, time, and just in general, we want to save lives. That's our number one goal: life safety. Time is of the essence. So we have to get communication set up, going, and be able to communicate everything that we need to. So basic. Oh, let me get that back up. My slide came down. Basic 2-way radio rules. Two people cannot speak on these things at one time. So if you want to talk to your mom, and let's say your fire crew, we'll wait until a second, okay? And your mom wants to talk to you. You both can't jump on here and be like, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to hear each other. You're gonna step over each other, and nobody's going to get through. So two people can't communicate at the same time. You don't want to interrupt the person speaking. So if mommy has something to say to you, you want to let her get her message out. You don't want to cut her off. Let her get her message out and wait until you don't hear anything. You want to get back to her and verify that you got her message, and vice versa. You only respond if you hear your call sign, or if an officer has asked for all units to respond. So we all have call signs when we go to a fire. So for example, I'm on engine 29, and I'm on the back. So the two guys that ride on the back, so like me and Goody, we'd be engine 29 tailboards. So they call and say engine 29 tailboard, and that would be me or Goody. So if we hear that, we know we're supposed to respond. So we'd say go for engine 29 tailboard. The officer is always their call sign is always the unit number. So Ron is our lieutenant, so he's always engine 29 no matter what. Fire scene, traffic accident, somebody calls on radio, engine 29, blah, 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 blah. That's Ron. And then the driver, of course, the engine 29 driver. So whoever's driving, that's their call sign. But the two guys in the back are tailboards. And so like if, let's say Ron sends us to go do a task and we get separated from, we need to call him, I'd be like, I'd say engine 29 from engine 29 tailboard. Ron then knows it's for him, and he knows it's me calling him, or he knows it's Goody or Mark on the back calling him. And then there's times where we call for a PAR where something's happening. The command staff need to know that everybody's accounted for, because there may be somebody missing, there may be a mayday, so he's going to say, all units give me a PAR. And when you hear that, the officers are going to get accounted, their guys are going to say engine 29, all accounted for, Quint 27, all accounted for, all those things, okay? You never want to translate or transmit confidential information. You don't want to give names of like accident victims, people that are at that house. You don't want to give out patient names, financial information. All these things are recorded. So anytime we go to a fire, anytime we go to a traffic accident, everything's recorded on public record. And it's to go back and so people can listen and tell like what was said. If something went wrong and they need to figure out, okay, was there a miscommunication, they can always go back and find out and listen to that radio traffic. So you don't want to say, hey Jennifer, it's Renee, what's going on today? You don't want to joke around, you want to be serious, and you don't want to give out confidential information. Like I said, know your call sign, and I think we just went over that, and that's the only time you answer. Like I said, if you're in the back of engine 26, like I said, 29 is your engine 26 tailboard, or firefighter. So the guys on the back are firefighter, so that's my mistake. So I'd be engine 29 firefighter. So like if I had to call Ron, I'd say engine 29 from engine 29 firefighter. He knows that's from him, he knows it's from me. Okay? You had a question?
Oh, for the Bishop two-way radio,
Uh-huh.
would you just say like there's a civilian like trapped somewhere, or like?
Mm-hmm. You call whoever. Go ahead.
Good. So, and then another like thing was if somebody is talking
Mm-hmm.
and then the other person starts talking too, then the radios would just go silent.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're talking and then mom has something to say, it's going to keep with your traffic. So she's going to try to talk, but it's not going to, her message is going to get out because you're still on that radio talking. You're over the airwave, you know what I mean? So, go ahead.
And you may not know the answer to this, but how long do they keep the recordings for?
I think I don't know the answer to that. I can get that answer for you and I will find out, I think at a class, but I think they're public record for as long as they exist.
And then is not using victim information or patient information also due to HIPAA? Is that part of the reason why?
It's HIPAA, and then it's liability as well. You know, you don't want to give, let's say I give the wrong information and then somebody happens to be listening and I say, Noah Barrera's injured or dead over here, and somebody hears that happens to know the family, they have a radio thing that they listen to, a frequency, and they're like, oh my God, they call the mom up, hey, your son's injured or dead. You'd start freaking out. It was never him all along, so, you know, that's another reason. Okay, moving along. So 4 rules of radio communication. The first one is you want to speak in a calm, normal voice and avoid yelling. I always try to speak slower than usual if possible. I have speech patterns that sometimes it's hard to understand if you don't know me. Your mom says I stutter. I tend to stutter, and then I have a lisp. So I try to, when I call and talk, I try to stay calm and I try to speak slower. So I'll say like, we have a victim trapped in the 3rd floor apartment building, and I try to stay calm. Yelling never helps out on the radio especially. You want to keep your messages short and simple so it can be understood. You don't want to ramble on and say, oh, there's a guy on the 3rd floor. Hey, he's waving his arms now. Oh, and now he's throwing his kid over. Oh, he's asking for water. You just want to keep it plain and simple. You have a victim on the 3rd floor or a patient on the 3rd floor, we're going to throw a ladder and get him off. That's it. Because like I said, at a fire scene, there's so many people that need to get messages out and communicate. You don't want to be the one hogging up all the airways, especially if there's something more important going on that needs to be put out. Be precise and to the point. That goes with the second rule. Just keep it, you know, the KISS acronym. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what we try to use. Another thing, it's repetitive, but no confidential information or names should be given over the radio. Remember, these conversations are recorded, and they can be obtained by media, law enforcement. They can also be used in a court of law. Say somebody died and the family's suing because they don't think care was provided. They can always be used in the court of law to call and summon. You can be summoned back to court, and they'll ask about like your radio communications. They can do that. Any questions about that? Okay, moving along. So when you call another person on the radio, this is the bread and butter. Ensure that the channel's clear, right? There's nobody talking on it. If you're at a fire, there's going to be people talking. Just you have to jump in when you can. This is your push to talk button. So on the main radio, it's usually on the side. It's a green button or orange. You're going to push that right here, the click. Usually, if you have the hand mic, you don't have to push this one because your hand mic's going to be closer to you. You just push that, and it's the same thing. Push the talk button. PTT, we call it PTT button. You wait 2 seconds because, well, you wait 2 seconds and say the recipient's call sign, like I said, Engine 29 from Engine 29 firefighter. And the way I remember it, I always learned in the academy was, this is, you know, so basically, hey you, this is me. And they know, okay, he's trying to call me or she's trying to call me. You wait 2 seconds because normally if you speak right when you push it, your message is going to get cut off. These things are just designed that way. There's a little leeway there that you need, or a little time period, lag that you need to wait before you talk. If I start talking right away, you're only going to get some of the messages like, what did you just say? You can ask me to repeat it and we're going to waste time and use up the airway. When you hear your recipient reply, then say your message. So if I'm going to call Jenny, I'm going to say, let's say you're Engine 29. Say, Engine 29 from Engine 29 driver. You're going to listen for, you hear that, you say, this is Engine 29. That lets me know you heard me, and then I'm going to get back on. Engine 29 from Engine 29 driver. We have a patient here that's, we need to call the trauma alert. Okay, now you know you need to call a trauma alert. Any questions about that or the push the talk button? No? Okay. So, like I said, this is just an example, radio exchange. No, you'd be firefighter, mom would be officer. You're gonna call her, you can say, Engine 36, this is Engine 36 firefighter. Hey you, this is me. So now mom knows that you're calling her, she's gonna say, this is Engine 36, or whatever she wants to say. This is, go for Engine 36. And then you would say, at this time we have power shut off to the house. You'd acknowledge the message, Roger, power shut off to the house. And we always try to repeat what we're being told, that way that person on the other side knows, hey, for sure they got that message, they know what I'm asking them, there's no question. All right. Any question about that? Okay. These are a few tips. Like I said, wait a few seconds after pressing the push to talk button before speaking, or your message may be cut off in the beginning, leading to confusion. What did you just say? I heard something about a dog in the tree, and that's it. What do they want us to do? You know? Be short, clear, and concise about what you're saying. Keep it simple, Steve. It's good practice to repeat what you're being told or asked to ensure that it was received by the sender. I always try to repeat the message that I've sent. Sometimes firefighters may be in a rush and they may not repeat, but I always make it a point to try to repeat just so that officer knows for sure, hey, Renee got my message, he knows what I'm asking him. There's not going to be confusion down the line, and I'm not going to be like, I have to ask him, why didn't this get done? Okay. So radio language, some things that we use. Like if I called you and I said, Jennifer, this is Renee, you'd say, this is Jennifer, go ahead. Means resume your transmission. Say again. That's something that we say if we didn't understand the message, or like I said, they spoke right when they pushed the push talk button, they got cut off. We say again. You know, the N29 drivers say again, they repeat their message. Stand by. Transmission has been acknowledged, but I am unable to respond now. So you call me and I'm busy doing something. I'm tending to a patient. My officer calls me. Engine 29 firefighter from Engine 29. Like, this is Engine 29 firefighter. Stand by. He knows, okay, they're probably busy doing something. I'm going to wait until he gets back. And then when I'm done with whatever I'm doing, I'll call him back. Roger, your message was received and understood. Like I said, I always try to repeat my message, but you can use Roger as well. Affirmative, that means yes. Avoid yep, nope, things like that. Like, yep, I got it. Nope, yes, affirmative. Or negative, no. So like, is the fire extinguished? That's a negative. They know, no. Okay. Any questions about that? All right. At the beginning of the class, I spoke about some of the things that make radio communications difficult. Stress. Our job is by nature stressful. We see things that most normal people don't see in their daily lives or ever see. And so it can be stressful. You know, you see a 2-year-old with their leg cut off, they're bleeding out, you're kind of freaking out already. So we work under stressful situations that may make the radio caller excited and speak faster than usual. Try to be aware of this and try to calm down and speak slower. So I still work on that. I think every firefighter works on that, and it takes practice, especially under stressful situations. You're at a fire, your heart rate's pumped up. This is N29. We don't know where we're at, but the fire's going. Blah, 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 blah. Like, nothing good's gonna come out of it. You have to try to remain calm. Surrounding noise. We work in noisy environments, fires, traffic accidents, there's cars whizzing by. it's a good practice. You'll see firefighters when they're trying to communicate, they'll cup and turn away to where like they're away from the noise, and they'll push the talk and they'll speak, and it drowns out the noise a little bit. Our face mask at a fire, that's a big one. This one happens a lot as a face mask tends to muffle our voices, which is why it is important to speak slower and calmly. If I had my mask, I'd show you an example, and we had another radio, I'd be able to show you an example, but you talk and it muffles everything, so you have to really pay attention. It's kind of hard, and that's why we always try to speak slower, and we get practice on it every year. They put us through confidence courses where we have our masks, we have all our gear, and we'll do like hammer swings, raises, flips, and then climb a ladder, and then they'll ask us to do a radio communication. That's just to see how we communicate under stress and duress. Maydays. This is the worst example. Someone will call a mayday when they are in trouble. This may cause the caller to yell their message, making it difficult to understand. And understandably, if you get stuck and you're in a fire and your legs are getting burned, you're not going to be calm on the radio. That's understandable. Or if you're running low on air, we have our air gauges. We can see where we're at on air. Let's say we don't think anybody's around that's going to come save us the time. We're going to freak out and start breathing more. Somebody come get me, please. So that makes it difficult to understand. That's why we try to work on remaining calm. That's not the easiest thing if you're in a mayday. I haven't been in one. I can't imagine. But I would hope that I stay calm so they can understand my message again to me. Okay. And that is the end of my class. Any questions on anything I went over? Anything about the radio, the functionality, communications? All right. Well, hope you guys learned something about our profession, how we use the radio, and thank you for attending my class.